Woot! We are live. Okay, lights just turned on. All right. So I have some um, eh, awesome questions for us today from a wonderful person called Karen. Let me just pop those in there while I'm doing that. Now, one of the things I suggest, and it's funny because I'm running these lives both on, as you know, Facebook and YouTube's. And one of the things I think you should check out if you get a chance. It's funny because the chat does not show up for me. Here we go. Okay, there we go. When you get a chance, check out 5 moments of learning need. There you go. So if you get a chance, check that out. One of the things I talked about in my other live, and by the way, if you find this is not as fun as Facebook's, then join me on Facebook. Just look for the page you want to be looking for is e-learning scenario design, or just my name, and you'll actually find my page. And I do lots of lives there, and people are pretty having a lot of fun with it as well. So and I know that, I mean, the reason I offer this on YouTube as well, because I think there's a lot of people who are actually not fans of Facebook, which I understand because it is a giant time suck if you don't know how to turn it all off. So I'm still doing this here, but if you want to join on Facebook, go for it. All right. So one of the questions was, and I'm just going to post it here from Karen. A really good question. And the reason I think this compliance is such a, like, the minute you mention the word compliance, everybody's like, oh, they just get all deflated. They're like, yeah, they have to. And when I think about that, I think, now most of the training and education that we've had, if you really think about it, has been compliance, right? I mean, it's not like you just be like, yeah, it's cool. It's cool, everybody. Although, and I mean, there's like high school, kind of all compliance, right? You didn't pass, you didn't get the diploma. You don't get the diploma, probably won't get a job, right? Probably won't get into other educational institutions because they need that piece of compliance. Now, the problems with compliance is, one, we think of compliance as something that is just somehow extraordinary, or the fact that compliance has had a bad stigma. The minute you mention compliance training, everybody just, like I said, there's this attachment to it, like it's not a good thing. But I think that if anything, compliance training is actually can be, if you think about it, it's probably in a place, in a world where most of the things that we do are very theoretical and soft skills stuff. Compliance training is actually the most tangible, credible, context heavy, and also huge consequence heavy type of training. So in fact, that's how we should be approaching it. So one of the things that I suggest is when you're doing this kind of design, don't, especially for compliance training, don't underestimate the kind of impact that failing to comply with company regulations has, not only on the person, not on the company, go down to the person, always go down to the person, and then not just the external stuff, like if you forget to shred this, and it gets into the garbage and somebody sees that special personal piece of information, it will probably be used in the wrong way, or it'll leak to the news and everybody will find out that we are the kind of company that doesn't follow protocols or doesn't take our customers' data protection seriously. So there's that part of it, right? However, the next part of it is that's for the company. But how does that affect the company? Let's say that you lose public trust. Well, your stock prices probably go down. Your confidence in the market goes down. Therefore, people stop buying from you. People stop investing in your services. People don't want to work for you because you have a bad reputation. So lots of things happen. It's called like shrinkage and all that other stuff. And so that's what happens when people start losing jobs, right? People start losing bonuses. All those things happen. That's when we start discovering what's happening at the personal level. That compliance is affecting. So you do that, you figure all that out. And at the personal level, let's say the only thing we could say is, yeah, well, the company lost, stock value dropped, and they had to let some people go. Now, some people, let's say, might say, okay, well, that's fine. I'll just find another job. It's not a big deal. It's not a really big consequence for them because it's very external still. Now, think about the internal stuff. What do people care about? They care about their families. They care about their friends. They care about their reputation. They care about their well-being. So what can you do to make that tie that compliance, doing that task that seems kind of small and insignificant, doing that well to, let's say, I would do a scenario where it says breaking news. Company sued for $1 million or however much because there was a breach in data, and a little old lady had her information stolen, and now somebody racked up her credit card. She basically maxed out her card. Now she's in debt and stole her identity and used it maliciously. And now she has to she beg to be able to get out of it. And she's in a hospital because it affected her so badly. Her you see her family crying. Now, let's say you work for that company. One of the things you probably feel is very ashamed, a little angry. You come home and everybody in your house is like, gosh, Mom, did you see that? Wow, isn't that where you work? Shame. Let's say it's somebody who's like, well, I don't care if I lose a job. I can find one super easy. Yeah, well, what about Jim, your best friend at work who has 3 kids? You may not care about your job, but Jim definitely does because he's got to support a family and he wants to take little Julie over to ballet lessons. And that's all she's ever dreamed about. And now he won't be able to do that because we're downsizing. Will that affect somebody? Heck yeah. So what you got to do is you got to start thinking about the personal, thinking about ways that people would care, not just, if we do this, then, you'll get a smaller bonus. Yeah, okay, whatever. For some people, they're like, who cares? It's like $10 to me. I don't care. But what are those repercussions? And this is the beauty of scenarios, right? You can really amp them up. Show them worst case scenario. Like if the worst case scenario is death, go for it. But do not underestimate the power of emotion, the power of shame, anger, disappointment in yourself. Like, what do you got to think about this person, this individual? They got to go home and face their family. Dad's got no job because somebody didn't shred the piece of paper. My goodness. Wow. These small actions, they're important. They add up. So that's what I wanted to leave you with, because I think that the best scenario designers always go back to the person, the human, the personal experience, because in the end, that's what drives us. It's, when there's a reason why you work, and it's not because most people work, they enjoy what they do, I think. No, actually, it's just statistics say they don't, but that's a choice. But they do that because they want to do something else. They want to provide for their family, buy that car so they can show it off and have their mom be proud of them when they drive her to the supermarket. All those things, figure out what they are and add them to your scenarios. They won't turn anybody off if you've done them right. They will actually personalize the experience, because as I said, in order to actually make a scenario relevant to your audience, yes, you have to add context, and context is very important. Like, why, how does this relate to me? I have no clue, right? So there's a bit of that, especially with compliance training. But paint a picture of a person, very personal. And the minute you start adding those details, man, does that become ever more powerful. So this because we know, if you looked at any kind of ads for like that charity World Vision, right? They don't show pictures of like the million children that need help. They show a picture of a single kid, and they tell that single kid's story because that's who we connect with. We connect one-on-one. We don't connect with groups. The dispersal doesn't work. So your scenarios, use that same framework. Zone in on one person. How is one person going to feel? How is it going to affect one person if they mess up? That's where you want to like really capitalize your scenario, because that'll make it personal, and also it'll make it stick, because stories, that's how we understand things. That's how we've translated, the randomness of words and things that happen in our lives into a narrative to help us remember it. So if you create a great story around that scenario narrative, perfect. You've done it. Also, don't expect, rock star stuff the first draft. There's a reason why you iterate and get feedback from the learner, from the end user, and work it back into your scenario so that you can make it 100% the kind of language and emotion and consequence that really resonates with them, and just basically at that point drives them to take action or feel very strongly about taking action or feel very strongly about doing something about it, right? So I hope that was helpful to you, and you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day and the weekend. TGIF. And if you have any questions, please post them underneath the video. And if you